When you mention the world of classic cars, people instantly picture the giants, the Mustangs roaring down American highways, the Camaros idling aggressively under neon lights, the Chargers shaking the ground with their V8 thunder. But quietly, almost shyly, behind the curtain of automotive history, there's a car that never asked for applause but absolutely deserved it. A car that, in so many ways, was ahead of its time, smarter than its rivals, and built with a kind of humble brilliance that only becomes obvious when you look back decades later. That car is the AMC Rambler. And the more you dig into its story, the more you realize the Rambler wasn't just underrated, it was almost invisible to people who should have noticed it. Yet its fingerprints are all over the evolution of practical American cars. There's something charming about the Rambler right from the start. Not the kind of charm that jumps at you, like a muscle car with bulging fenders and chrome shouting for attention. The Rambler's charm is quieter, almost like a person who doesn't need to speak loudly to be heard. It was built for real families, real budgets, real roads. While the big three were fighting for horsepower dominance, AMC decided to do something radically simple: create a car that normal people could actually afford, maintain, and trust every single day. And weirdly enough, that bold move, choosing practicality over power, is what made the Rambler so misunderstood. Back in the 1950s and early 60s, the American automotive market was a battlefield. Ford, GM, and Chrysler had such enormous influence that smaller companies barely had room to breathe. They had more factories, more marketing power, more dealerships, more everything. For AMC to survive in that environment, they had to think differently. They couldn't outmuscle Detroit's big boys. They couldn't out-advertise them. They had to outsmart them. And that's exactly what they did with the Rambler. AMC's then-president George Romney, yes, the father of the politician Mitt Romney, made a decision that most people thought was crazy. Instead of joining the horsepower war, AMC would double down on small, fuel-efficient, dependable cars. It was a move so unique, so contrarian, that it didn't just surprise the market, it confused it. Most American buyers had been conditioned to believe that bigger meant better. Bigger engines, bigger fins, bigger bodies. The Rambler walked in as the small sensible one, almost like a quiet genius sitting in the back of a noisy classroom. And here's the funny thing, it worked. Not only did people buy the Rambler, but for a brief moment in the early 60s, AMC became a real threat to the big three. In 1961, the Rambler was America's third best-selling car brand. Imagine that, a small company with a limited budget rising to the top through pure efficiency and smart engineering. But history, of course, is never that simple, and the Rambler's brilliance ended up becoming the reason many people overlooked it later on. What made the Rambler so underrated was how unpretentiously good it was. No loud personality. No flamboyant styling. It was the car equivalent of a reliable friend, the one who helps you move, listens to your problems, and shows up on time without making a big deal out of it. People tend to overlook that friend until one day they realize he's the most solid person they know. That's the Rambler. Driving a Rambler, even today, feels different. It's not fast, and it was never trying to be. But it has a smoothness, a steady confidence, a feeling that it was engineered with thought rather than ego. The compact size makes it easy to maneuver, the interior is surprisingly comfortable, and the fuel efficiency, for its time, was shocking. Cars around it were guzzling fuel like there was no tomorrow, but the Rambler quietly sipped it, smiling at the chaos around it. If the 1973 oil crisis had hit 20 years earlier, AMC might have become the biggest automaker in America simply because they were the only ones prepared. There's also something incredibly charming about AMC's creativity. Since they didn't have unlimited resources, they had to innovate in ways that didn't require massive investments. One example is the famous Rambler reclining seats, which could fold into a near-bed configuration. Some people joked that more American families were created in Rambler interiors than in any other car. And who knows, maybe they were right. But jokes aside, it was genius. Nobody else was offering that level of comfort and practicality at such an affordable price. But here's where the story becomes bittersweet. As the 60s progressed, American buyers wanted flashier cars. The Rambler's clean, sensible image started to look boring compared to the bold new designs flooding the market. AMC tried to adapt, introducing sportier versions and new models, but the identity they had built around rationality and economy didn't match the mood of the decade. People didn't want sensible anymore. They wanted excitement. And yet, the Rambler had already changed the industry. Ford followed AMC's strategy with the Falcon. GM introduced the Chevy 2. Chrysler joined in with the Valiant. All of these cars existed because AMC proved that compact, affordable cars could sell in America. But while those giants had the resources to evolve their models over time, AMC struggled to keep up. Slowly, the Rambler name began to fade. Today, when people look back at classic cars, the Rambler barely gets mentioned. But if you talk to mechanics who worked through the 60s or older drivers who grew up with them, you hear the same thing over and over: those Ramblers were tough. Those cars just didn't break. That reputation of reliability didn't make them glamorous, but it made them unforgettable to anyone who depended on one. And then there's the collector market. You can walk into any classic car show and see Mustangs and Camaros lined up like trophies. But finding a Rambler is almost like finding a hidden treasure. You notice instantly how different it is: the simplicity, the sincerity in its design, the way it feels unpolished but authentic. Some collectors chase rarity for prestige. Rambler owners chase rarity for love. And when they talk about their cars, they don't brag. They tell stories. Stories about road trips where the Rambler refused to overheat, even climbing mountains. Stories about parents who bought a Rambler because it was the only car they could afford but ended up keeping it for 20 years because nothing else made sense. Stories about kids learning to drive in a car that didn't scare them, but guided them gently. These stories don't appear in traditional automotive rankings, but they define the Rambler's legacy far more deeply. What makes the Rambler the most underrated classic in the world isn't just that people ignored it, it's that people forgot how influential it was. The modern compact car owes a debt to the Rambler. The idea that efficiency matters, that comfort doesn't require extravagance, that innovation can exist in simplicity, all of that comes from AMC's early gamble. And maybe the most beautiful part of it is this: the Rambler didn't need fame to accomplish what it did. It just quietly changed the automotive landscape, then stepped aside while everyone else took the credit. But now, decades later, people are starting to rediscover it. Younger enthusiasts, tired of overpriced muscle cars and impossible restoration costs, are realizing that a Rambler offers something refreshing, a classic that you can actually drive, actually maintain, and actually enjoy without fear of ruining a $1 million investment. In a hobby where so much revolves around bragging rights, the Rambler brings things back to what they should be: the simple joy of driving a car that was designed with honesty. And maybe that's why the Rambler's underappreciation has become part of its charm. It doesn't need to be famous to matter. It doesn't need to be loud to make an impact. It represents a different kind of greatness, the kind that reveals itself slowly, the more you get to know it, like a person whose value becomes clearer with time. What really makes the Rambler special, though, is the way it represents a kind of quiet rebellion against everything that defined American car culture at the time. When people think of the 60s, they think of roaring V8s, drag races, chrome flashing under streetlights. But the Rambler existed almost as a reminder that not everyone wanted to live life 1/4 mile at a time. Some people just wanted a good car, something that treated them kindly, didn't empty their wallets, and didn't pretend to be something it wasn't. There's a humility to the Rambler that feels almost refreshing today. Modern cars try so hard to impress you with screens, flashing lights, and features you'll never use. But the Rambler offers the opposite experience: simplicity. Real buttons. Straightforward mechanics. A dashboard that doesn't overwhelm you. A car that communicates with you in a more direct, honest way. It's almost like stepping into a different era, not just in time, but in attitude. You sit behind the wheel, and for a moment, life feels a little slower, a little calmer, a little more grounded. And the funny part is that this simplicity was once seen as a flaw. When AMC was building Ramblers, reviewers said they lacked excitement. They said the cars were too plain, too modest, too rational. They thought American families wanted flashier options. But history has a way of flipping perspectives. Today, people crave what the Rambler offered: a car that doesn't complicate your life, a car that stands up to time, a car that values function over spectacle. Another aspect that made the Rambler misunderstood is the very identity confusion AMC dealt with toward the end. As AMC moved into the late 60s and early 70s, They shifted toward sportier models like the Javelin and AMX to match the era's changing tastes. And while those cars were incredible in their own right, the shift accidentally pushed the Rambler legacy deeper into the shadows. It was as if AMC had moved on and the world moved on with it, forgetting how instrumental the Rambler had been to the company's survival and success. But for the people who truly lived with these cars, who drove them daily through storms, heat, long highways, and crowded towns, the Rambler wasn't just transportation. It was part of their life story. You can still see it in the comments section of old Rambler videos online, older folks typing slowly but passionately, telling everyone how their Rambler took them to college, or to their wedding, or across the country without ever breaking down. Some say it was the first car they ever drove. Others say it was the only car their family ever trusted. And there's something beautiful about that. Cars aren't just machines. They're memory containers. And the Rambler, even without fame, has gathered an extraordinary collection of human memories. One reason people overlooked the Rambler for so long is that it doesn't fit the usual narrative of what a classic car should be. Classic cars are supposed to be desirable, fast, loud, rare, expensive. But the Rambler was built to be attainable. It wasn't a weekend toy, it was a weekday warrior. It was the car that got you to work, picked up kids from school, carried groceries, took you on modest family vacations. It was woven into the everyday lives of normal people, not the fantasies of car enthusiasts. But ironically, that's exactly what makes it feel so real today. So many classic cars feel like museum pieces, beautiful, but distant. The Rambler feels familiar, like a relative in an old photograph. It represents an America that worked hard, lived simply, and valued reliability above unnecessary flash. In a world obsessed with premium everything, the Rambler's authenticity stands out even more. Collectors who own Ramblers today talk about the reactions they get at car meets. People walk past rows of shiny muscle cars and then suddenly stop when they notice a Rambler sitting quietly in the corner. They smile. They share a memory. They call over a friend or a spouse. It's not a car that intimidates people, it invites them. It's approachable. It has personality without arrogance. And from a restoration standpoint, the Rambler is a gift. Its mechanical simplicity makes it easier to work on than many of its contemporaries. Parts availability can be tricky sometimes, but not impossible. And the satisfaction of bringing one back to life is enormous. Because when you restore a Rambler, you're not just fixing a car, you're rescuing a forgotten chapter of automotive history. You're giving a second chance to something that was never appreciated enough the first time. It's hard not to admire how AMC, with limited resources, managed to create such a meaningful vehicle. The Rambler wasn't just a product, it was a philosophy. And that philosophy quietly influenced decades of car design around the world. Small, efficient, comfortable cars became the norm in Europe and Japan long before they were embraced in the US, but AMC was already thinking that way in the 50s. In many ways, the Rambler predicted the future more accurately than any of its louder competitors. And maybe that's the real tragedy of its underrated status. The Rambler was a pioneer, but pioneers rarely get credit during their lifetime. It takes decades for people to look back and say, wow, they were ahead of everyone else. That's exactly what's happening now. As fuel prices rise, as people value practicality again, as minimalism becomes a lifestyle, the Rambler suddenly feels like the car that understood the world long before the world understood it. Another thing that adds to the Rambler's underdog charm is its design evolution. It wasn't trying to impress anyone with aggressive lines or exaggerated curves. Instead, it embraced clean shapes, balanced proportions, and a kind of honest beauty. There's something comforting about its design. It looks like a car that wants to take care of you, not show off. And depending on the year and model, the Rambler could even be genuinely stylish, in a restrained, intelligent way. The 1963 Rambler Classic and the 1960 Rambler American, for example, have gained a lot of appreciation in recent years for their understated elegance. But perhaps the biggest reason the Rambler is the most underrated classic in the world is this: it represents a completely different definition of value. Most classic cars are valued for rarity, power, or prestige. The Rambler is valued for character. It's valued for heart. It's valued for being almost stubbornly good in a world that didn't reward that kind of goodness. You can tell a lot about a person by the classic car they choose. Someone who buys a Rambler isn't trying to impress anyone. They're preserving something that deserves to be remembered. They're choosing soul over status. And that makes the Rambler community one of the most passionate, genuine, and friendly groups in the classic car world. It's also impossible to ignore how affordable Ramblers still are relative to other classics. You can still find them at reasonable prices, making them one of the best entry points for younger enthusiasts who want to own a piece of automotive history without needing a millionaire budget. And the moment they buy one, they join a legacy, a quiet one, yes, but a powerful one. In a way, the Rambler teaches a lesson far beyond cars. It teaches that greatness doesn't always look like what you expect. It teaches that you don't need to be loud to make a difference. It teaches that sometimes, the most influential things in life are the ones people overlook. And it shows that simplicity, honesty, and purpose are qualities that last far longer than flashiness. If you ever get the chance to ride in a Rambler, take it. Listen to the engine. Feel the road. Notice how the car doesn't try to be anything other than what it is. Let yourself imagine the generations of people who trusted these cars, who lived moments inside them that they still remember decades later. A car doesn't need fame to matter, it needs meaning. And the Rambler has meaning woven into every inch of it. The question, why is the AMC Rambler the most underrated classic in the world, ends up having a strangely emotional answer. Because it deserved more love than it received. Because it played a bigger role in automotive history than people acknowledge. Because it was built with sincerity in an era of excess. Because it didn't chase trends, it quietly influenced them. And because today, as people rediscover it, they realize they're not just looking at an old car. They're looking at a philosophy, a reminder, a piece of American identity that survived against all odds. The Rambler might not roar like a muscle car or shine like a chrome-heavy cruiser, but it touches people in a way those cars rarely do. It feels human. It feels honest. And maybe that's the reason it stayed underrated for so long, because true authenticity takes time to be appreciated. But now, finally, the world is catching up to what the Rambler always was, a classic not because of extravagance, but because of truth. A car that refused to pretend. A car that proves that greatness doesn't need to shout. A car that reminds us that sometimes, the most remarkable things are the quietest ones.